Hey, it's Roy Furr here with Breakthrough Marketing Secrets. This is Video Friday, and we're going to do it a little bit differently today. You see me face-to-face. In a moment, you're also going to see my coach, Joseph Rodrigues, face-to-face, or as I like to call him, J-Money. And we're going to have a little conversation around a book that I keep recommending because honestly, I think it's up there as far as a top 5 business book for your lifetime, not for this year, for your lifetime, for books that you should read if you want to have an impact through building a business or organization. So before we dive into that, before I reveal what the book is, and before we talk about the specific topic that I believe is going to have a gigantic impact on you going forward and everybody that you serve, I want to say, J-Money, welcome to Video Friday for Breakthrough Marketing Secrets. Joseph?
Thanks for having me on, Roy. Appreciate it.
And you live, before we dive into this, you actually live a little bit of a different lifestyle. You are a road warrior. You've lived out of a backpack for a few years. Where are you speaking to me from right now?
Right now I'm in Los Angeles.
Yes, which is a frequent home base for you, but you're in an Airbnb in Los Angeles.
Yeah, you know, I like to go where the sun goes. You know, they always got a lot of sunshine here. I was in Dallas last weekend. I'm going to be going to Arizona, Vancouver, Phoenix over the next month.
Awesome.
To teach some workshops. But yeah, I definitely do things differently.
Yes. And I love it. I love it. That's one of the things that's attracted me and other high-level entrepreneurs I know to you. So the book that I want to talk about here is Play Bigger. And this is a book by Ramadan, Dave Peterson, Christopher Lochhead, and Kevin Maney. And Chris, hi, if I get this video to you, I'm talking about your book again. My biggest criticism of this book is actually the title, because Play Bigger is such a trite and meaningless term for that doesn't represent 1/100th of the value in this book. This book is about category design. It's about not just creating a company or user experience or product that is better. It's about creating a brand new category for your business. And by designing it, you set yourself up to dominate it. And this is an action plan for it. This isn't just, play bigger, feel better about yourself, whatever. This book is an action plan. And that's why I love it. And that's why, again, I think it's one of the top 5 business books to read in your life. The concept that I want to talk about from Play Bigger today is the power of a point of view, which is here in, chapter 5. And specifically what a point of view is it is the representation of how you and your company think different about a market, about a problem that you can solve. And through the way that you think different, why your company is superior for your ideal target market. And so I do want to talk about my own personal example and what has me thinking about this a lot right now, but I also want to specifically pull from the book, and Joseph, maybe we can have a little back and forth on this.
Yeah, so it's very similar to the concept of positioning and polarizing.
Yes, but it's even beyond that. It's saying, not just position yourself inside of a market, but identify like the next evolution of your market and create your position by creating this brand new category on the edge or as the next step of your market. And polarization almost always has a critical role to play in defining your point of view. Mm-hmm. So should we talk about Salesforce as the example? We were talking about it a little bit before we hit record.
Yeah, it's a good example.
All right, cool. So in the late 90s, before Salesforce.com came out, the primary methods of getting a customer relationship manager software or CRM was actually getting software that you install. Now, if you're a small business and you just have one computer that you're running off of, that's fairly simple, that's fairly straightforward. But if you're dealing with big corporate clients, the solution was get these like $2 million software and server platforms that you get installed inside your office on your local area network, and then the software to run it, and then service contracts. And it was a very big line item on your expense report to keep your sales team well equipped for handling sales calls and developing customer relationships. And then Salesforce.com came along with Mark Benioff going out and not even pitching Salesforce as a CRM, not even pitching the benefits of of Salesforce, he came out with this logo that I'm putting up on screen, no software. And he basically proclaimed the end of software. And he made a huge deal about this and said that software installed on premises is a dying business model, and that the new answer is, it wasn't even called this at the time, but the new answer is cloud-based software as a service. And so you get a monthly subscription and you're able to log into their website and you get the software. They're running on their servers, they're maintaining the servers, they're running the updates, they're keeping uptime great, all of that. And he defined this brand new category, not just for Salesforce, although it was hugely beneficial. My understanding, a quick Google search told me he owns currently about $3 billion in Salesforce stock. Plus, I think he's already sold a bunch. But it changed the face of how software is sold. I mean, we're here talking, we're recording on Zoom right now, and this is a monthly subscription to this video conferencing that is not even pennies on the dollar. It's like pennies on the hundreds or thousands of dollars compared to what video conferencing solutions were 10 years ago, right? Mm-hmm. And so it's the end of software. Other examples, let's see, who was it? Chris and I think it was Dave were at Macromedia when Flash was taking over the internet, and their point of view was experience matters. I mean, if you think back to the late 90s and what websites looked like before Flash, the user experience was horrible. They were ugly. Maybe you had some animated GIFs, which have come back in the last few years, but the experience of a user on a website was usually not very attractive, not very exciting. And Flash, through this point of view of experience matters, they changed the face of the internet, right? And go back to 1984 when Apple ran their Super Bowl ad, and they based it on the movie 1984. And the guy runs into, or I think it was a woman, runs into this theater, and it's very reminiscent of the movie 1984, runs into the theater with the sledgehammer, runs past all the security's chasing her. She throws the sledgehammer through this big screen that has Big Brother on it, talking to everybody. It smashes the screen, and then it says, "Think different" with the Apple logo. And they just said, we speak to a different person here, that we speak to somebody that is completely different. So Joseph.
So, well, yeah, this is interesting because I never read the book, first of all. So I'm going by what you're saying, and it sounds to me, and correct me if I'm wrong, this point of view has to be crafted for something that you foresee happening in the future, that you're kind of like, you position yourself as like a visionary for this. And everyone else is not really talking about this, where the trend is going. You figure out where it's going, and then from there, you craft this point of view. So there's probably like steps or elements required once you identify what that is to craft and convey this point of view.
Yeah, the very nature of the whole POV conversation, POV being point of view, is that you are looking for the whole in a market. You're looking for the next step that the market's going to take, the next step the market's going to take. And you're saying, that's where the whole market's going. That's where I want to go. And it is by its very nature, it represents doing something different, being somebody that is essentially serving the bleeding edge, the early adopters, the rebels, the renegades. And
I like what you said when we were offline. We said renegades or rebels with cause or purpose.
Yeah. So speaking specifically, so let's actually go through this through their process, just kind of quickly, at least the first 3 of 5 steps here about creating a POV. And here we go. Step 1, who. So number 1, you have to figure out who you're serving, who you're creating a solution for, right? And a big business is not built, almost any business is not built if you don't know who you're talking to, right? There has to be somebody out there who is looking for the solutions that you offer. And so in the context of my latest project, which is helping nonprofits increase their online fundraising results, the clear thing that I'm looking for is nonprofits who want better online fundraising results, right? Step two is fact finding. What you're looking for as you are fact finding for your point of view is not just where the market is right now and where it's going, but how, and not how you can do things better, but how you can do things that are completely different than they've ever been done before in that market. So in the context of Salesforce, it's, you don't have to have the server installed, you don't have to have the service contract, you don't have to have the software installed on your local computer. None of that is required to get the benefit of Salesforce. It's no software. And that was how they thought that represented their different type of thinking in that market. Apple created these visual computers for creative people versus Microsoft, which was for the business people. And people think of Microsoft as Big Brother in 1984 and all of that. And it felt especially so in the early 80s when that commercial came out. And so what is your opportunity to do things different, not better? What is the different? What's that?
That's number 3.
That's number 2 still.
Was that number 3? Okay.
Well, so number 3 is agree on the problem. So you have to know how to clearly state the problem you're solving before you can describe your solution. So the problem is the problem that people have with all of the solutions that are already out there in the marketplace that just aren't working or are not sufficient to meet their current needs. And so, for example, just going back to Salesforce, because it is a really good example, it was a big problem that you had to spend, if you wanted your sales team to be fully supported with CRM software, you had to spend, $2 million minimum to get one of these systems installed on premises, attached to your network, and then you had these expensive service contracts as well. And so there was this clear problem around that entire business model, around that entire category that Salesforce solved by thinking completely different, by saying, what if we didn't have to put software on premises? And so in the context of my nonprofit work, the who I'm speaking to are the fundraisers. The fact finding, what I see going on in that space right now is that the last 15 years of innovation in commercial direct response online has not moved into the nonprofit space. They're still amazing in direct mail, direct response. And they're great storytellers. They do some good things online, but there is so much opportunity in the nonprofit space. I believe $1 billion impact would just be scratching the surface if they apply the principles of effective online direct response to fundraising. And so I came up with this big list, but the real problem is that nonprofits raise 8% of their donations online, just 8%. Their peers in the direct mail world have moved maybe 80% of their business online. The direct response companies that sold through direct mail using similar methods have developed strategies and presences online that have moved 80% of their revenue online, and they're 10 times as big as they've ever been. They're gigantic now when they weren't, because of the speed, the scalability, the flexibility of the internet. Mm-hmm. and the economics. And so then you have to say, okay, how can I break this down? Step 4 is craft a story, rinse, repeat. Step 5 is distribute, evangelize, mobilize. You have to break this down and you say, how can I connect with the people who are willing and ready to hear this message? How can I speak to them? And so before this call, we were talking about, there's the movie title Rebel Without a Cause. Well, I'm looking for rebels with a cause. I'm looking for people in the online fundraising world, people in the fundraising world in general, in the nonprofit world that are ready, willing, and able to do something different because they recognize that 8% is not enough. 8% of your donations being raised online is really not enough. And there are opportunities through effective online direct response to achieve much bigger percentage of your donation revenue coming online and a much bigger donation pie. through using the power of the internet. And so, I have just one more sentence here that kind of represents how I'm speaking to these people that are willing to do things different. That we're looking for the rebels, the renegades, the innovators, the value creators, the rule breakers, and the change makers within the fundraising world. We're looking for people who want to do it different, because 8% is not enough. And so as I'm developing that business, as I'm thinking, okay, I believe that my solution, my completely different solution to online fundraising, can have $1 billion impact and just be starting at that point. That I need the people who are willing to roll with me on this point of view. I need the people who are willing to do things a little bit differently, to maybe borrow some things from the commercial direct response world, some principles, some strategies, some mindset things, some things that may represent a more entrepreneurial mindset, a more business-oriented mindset that a lot of people in the nonprofit space have. And the power to attract those people comes from having a clear point of view that 8% is not enough. And we're looking for the people who are sick and tired of only 8% of online fundraising coming from, or 8% of total fundraising coming from their online activities, when they see the commercial direct response world getting such different and bigger results online. So I'm fired up here. I don't know if you have, you can shut me down here. You can tell me that I'm crazy. You can give your own examples. I think, honestly, I think one of your point of view statements is that video that you made a few years back, where you actually, on your YouTube channel, and you have a ton of views. I forget exactly how many. I think it's over 1.5 million views on your YouTube channel, and you do reviews of books all the time for business people, for entrepreneurs. So it's Joseph Rodrigues and that's Rodrigues with an S, on YouTube. But that video that you have where you show how you live out of a backpack, how you live your entrepreneurial life out of a backpack, and why you would be speaking to me from an Airbnb in LA today, and why you're bouncing all over the country and the world. I think that kind of represents your point of view, that you approach things differently to get different results and to live the lifestyle that you want. And I think that's attractive to entrepreneurs. I'm sorry, go.
Yeah, there's many reasons why I do that, and that's polarizing, and it's a different point of view when you compare it to how other entrepreneurs do it.
Yeah.
But there's a method to the madness. There's resourcefulness, and instilling the philosophy of resourcefulness and actually living the philosophy of resourcefulness. It's focus, what is really important and all that stuff. So you're right, going through the process of these steps and really methodically writing down what are those facts. So now that you identified this process to me, I'm looking back and I could say, okay, it's resourcefulness. It's doing things with focus. It's reinvesting resources. Because, it wasn't living out of a backpack because I couldn't afford to live. It was living out of a backpack to be resourceful, to reinvest back into further business growth.
Yes.
A big part of my passion is contribution to other entrepreneurs through my channel, and building leaders and entrepreneurs in my channel who've gone through the same kind of similar pathway that I've gone on. And I like doing that while I'm doing business on the side, and to be able to reinvest back time and energy to do that requires me to be resourceful with money and so forth. There's different ways of doing things. Yeah, that's an example.
There's a book that I know that you know, and I know that a lot of our readers will know, and the title is Getting Everything You Can Out of All You've Got. And your representation of that principle in this particular area is I'm able to get all that I can out of my business success by focusing on what I need to have in place just to do what I want to do, and what's going to hold me back, say, in your case, for the type of business that you want to do, having a home base that you always have to return to, every week or whatever, creates a different situation that's not what you want to be doing right now.
I want to actually go a little, not off course, but add a little side element to this. I think it scares a lot of people to be the trendsetter, or the ones that start it first. So you're going out there and you're saying, okay, direct response marketing principles and ways of doing things, especially doing it on percentage, is not something would you say, like, it's only a small percentage?
It's 8%. Yeah.
8%, right?
Yeah.
And there's a lot of reasons why. So you're going to communicate to them all these reasons, but it can seem kind of scary to a lot of people.
And it's freaking scary to me to say, and it feels audacious, and it feels like my ego is blown out of proportion, and it feels completely over the top to say that I see something that nobody else sees. I see, for example, a talent gap in nonprofit fundraising where they cannot attract the high level of talent that the commercial direct response marketers have, because they have a professional organization, the Association of Fundraising Professionals, who says it is ethically wrong, it's morally wrong for a copywriter who's able to generate $1 million in donations for the nonprofit to accept 5%, even 2%, even 1% of that as a thank you for being able to create the innovative campaign that got that result. They would much rather, if you just go by the letter of their ethical standards for fundraisers, they would rather have you charge $50,000 for a campaign that flops, that doesn't even break even, that costs the nonprofit money, that takes away money from the mission, than to charge that same nonprofit $10,000 to create the campaign, have that campaign create $1 million in donations, and then earn an extra $50,000 as a 5% royalty for that donation, because it's ethically wrong from their perspective, from their point of view, to charge a commission, a royalty on fundraising. And my perspective on that is there is the immediate impact. Yes, if I charge 5%, that's 5% less that goes back to the nonprofit for immediate funds. But that's the immediate impact on one isolated campaign. But in the greater context, the amount of innovation that's gone on online in the online direct response world in the commercial space since 2000 or so is just off the charts. There are things that they're doing that have built companies that were doing, maybe $10 million at the turn of the millennium, who are now billion-dollar companies because they are incredibly innovative direct response marketers who reward people for profitable innovation. And they've moved so much of the revenue online and are so profitable today. The long-term effect of paying those people performance-based compensation is that those people that they attract talent who's naturally innovative, who is motivated to create bigger results. And a nonprofit that follows the AFP's rules is actually prohibited from creating that innovation, or prohibited from attracting that same kind of talent through the same kind of compensation structure. And so you deal with somebody like me who, for the first however many years of my copywriting career, I didn't even want to touch nonprofits because when I think about taking care of my young family, the amount of resources that I can get from working for nonprofits is so much smaller than the amount of resources that I can get working for these commercial companies. And so any kind of innovation, any kind of whatever, it's fed back into that machine and not into raising money for good causes.
Yeah, and I like the fact that, no pun intended, that you did gather facts. Yeah, because that's part of this process. Is the fact finder process, or the fact finder element of the step, is gathering the facts to support this theory that you have. Which, if you've got the facts, then you can state the case, and you're more likely to get that buy-in. But if you just say, "Look, this is where everything is going, and we're going to go in this direction," and so forth, and you don't have facts, it makes it a harder sell.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, I've been talking to a lot of fundraisers over the last few weeks, and I talk to them about my 10 recommendations, and they say, yeah, I tested that and it worked really well, and then I moved on and the organization stopped doing it. Or I tested that and it worked really well. And they're kind of backing into these things piecemeal, but as an entire kind of set of best practices, it really hasn't evolved because there's been no real motivation. They've always been able, and they have consistently blamed demographics. They've said, 65-year-olds aren't on the internet. for years. And they blame demographics and blame demographics and blame demographics. Well, you know what? 65-year-olds and 75-year-olds and 85-year-olds have been on the internet for years, and they've been spending money with these commercial direct marketers. They just have not been giving donations because the nonprofits haven't figured out that the effective principles of offline direct response work online with just little tweaks. And there's plenty of opportunities to do things that are way more innovative, way more interesting, and that will generate bigger donations, bigger results. And so, I mean, going back to the POV concept, can you see how somebody that has this fire in their belly, even if they're called crazy by 80% of people, by 90% of people, the people that they start leading are going to create an entire movement, an entire shift change, that everything is going to change because of somebody that adopts a powerful point of view. If you want to get ignored, just do the same thing as everybody else does, or even just try and do it a little bit better. If you want to change the world, you have to be different. And that's the whole freaking point of Play Bigger. And that's what it's a system to help you do, is to build a business that doesn't just do better, that does different to get a better result.
Yeah, I like that. And, you know, that's the essence of confidence, really, right? You know, you hold the space for others to go down this direction towards this ideal, this worthy ideal.
Yes.
And you hold the space, you know, like you're going to get resistance. And I don't know what else he covers in the book, but I have a question for you.
Yeah, what's up?
Because this is a good book. I'm probably going to read it. Now, why did you pick this topic out of all the other topics on this book? Is it because you realized that it was an area that a lot of people are not focusing on, or do you feel that they're not playing too big? Or why did you pick this topic?
Like most of the topics that I pick this topic because it's something that I'm thinking about right now. Honestly, so this is a book that I bought it because my brother-in-law said that it was a good book. It actually took me a long time to decide to read it because of the title, because I thought it was too generic, right? But my brother-in-law kept recommending it, and he was saying, I'm doing presentations for local companies on this, and you really should read this book. And then I bought it. I bought the audiobook. I listened to the audiobook once. I said, this is an important book. I bought the physical copy of the book, and I've listened to the audiobooks 2 times since then. And it's one of those things where this is one of the critical concepts of the book. And also Christopher Lochhead has a podcast called Legends and Losers that I've been listening to a lot of the past episodes. But this is one of those things where it's a book that has concepts that stick with you and become relevant as you take next steps and next steps and next steps. And you know, it is an action plan, but it's also full of ideas that will plant themselves, and they'll grow and they'll grow and they'll grow. And as I'm developing this fundraising funnels business, I know that I'm creating a brand new category. I know that I'm creating a category of, to borrow a term from Gary Bensavenga, results accountable online fundraising. You know, somebody, direct marketers who are accountable to the results they generate, not just creating content, not just creating newsletters, not just putting up a donate page, not just doing this. Direct marketers that are judged on whether or not they're able to create a bigger impact on the mission, more funds for the mission based on the online fundraising that they do. And it requires thinking different to have this impact. And it just came back to me that, you know, when I talk about fundraising funnels, which is the name of this project, I need to be crystal clear about my point of view. I need to be crystal clear. And then I thought, why am I thinking about this term? Like, why is this term so important to me? And then I remembered, because it's in Play Bigger, because point of view is a critical aspect of that being different is part of creating a brand new category, which is really what I'm looking to do with fundraising funnels. And really that's why I came back to it in this particular moment, thinking about it, and why I'm highlighting it today. A lot of the things in here are you know, much more practical in terms of, you know, this is how we schedule, this is how we schedule very specific elements of category design. This is how you need to understand category design. This is where category design fits in the greater entrepreneurial ecosystem. This is, and so it's a much bigger system that they identified in the book, and that they've actually been implementing in Silicon Valley for years.
I like this. One of the things that popped up is the awareness of how you're playing, and obviously playing bigger is going to reap. You're going to get way more rewards out of it. It's going to be a lot more fulfilling. And we talked about this prior weeks. This is something that you're really passionate about.
Yeah,
playing big and it's challenging. It's stimulating. Raises that level of passion up, the drive, the burning desire, as Napoleon Hill calls it. And that right there is something that inspires others to change. Now you're combining it with the facts and all these other kinds of things. It makes for a very powerful combo, and it's worth reflecting upon to see if we have that kind of purpose in what we're doing as far as our work and our business. Because you're right, I'm very motivated by the principles that I cover in my channel, which are resourcefulness, focus, minimalism, there's a whole list of concepts, but they're polarizing concepts. They're different concepts. They're not commonly shared in entrepreneurial circles, and maybe some people kind of are aware of it, but practicality, they're not implementing to the degree, or even corporate, or even like just in the business and career world in general, right?
Yeah. Well, what you end up covering are the things that attract high-level entrepreneurs to you, and it's things like discipline, things like getting up every day, and this is actually something I wrote about yesterday. Getting up every day and going to the gym and getting under the bar and doing doing your planned workout, because that in the long term, that's going to get you the results. Well, it's not attractive to think, okay, if I want to be physically fit, I have to dedicate myself for, depending on the level of fitness, the next 10 months to the next 10 years to start hitting these goals. And I have to be willing to get under the bar, even when it's painful, to achieve these things. And so you end up talking about a lot of these things, and you talk about them in a gentle and well thought, well considered way. But also you're talking about these habits that are deadly serious about high performance. And being resourceful is one of those. You can be less resourceful here, less resourceful here, less resourceful here, and you suddenly have a leaky bucket and you have no resources.
And one of the things I always add is this stuff might seem like work or seem like stressful work. It's because we're actually conditioned to think it is. But this is part of the journey, and we can enjoy this. And high-level entrepreneurs actually enjoy cultivating self-discipline because there's a joy in it. We look at stats, we look at reports and stuff like that. When we see things moving up, we know why. And so we're more motivated to go do all those things. And, there's a lot to be said about the success of that channel. And actually, I'm even reflecting back my IT business and different ways of doing things.
Yes.
That channel, because there's a lot of people talking about entrepreneurial. There's a lot of book summary channels, but my channel is different, right? It's very different. The videos are really long. I do mind maps. I cover it from a certain perspective and so forth. And because I see that there's an experience that others can have, which I have, and I just kind of reversed engineered it and communicated. So there's others going through the journey, and I get lots of emails and so forth that they're experiencing these results and so forth. So that uniqueness of playing bigger, because a lot of times I'm not listening to what everyone else is doing. A great philosophy that I had learned from Eben a while back, Eben Pagan, was, he mentioned that a lot of people look around to see what everyone else is doing before they decide to do something, or how they build their business, and and rather than looking at where is something going, the trends, what's the best way to create value, and then from there create what you're creating, which is what you're doing with the with your unique way of marketing or implementing direct response marketing in fundraising, nonprofits.
Yes. Well, that is. I mean, so much of that just feeds back into the play bigger approach. Yeah, you have to know what everybody else is doing a little bit, and it helps to be aware of what the market is and where people are being served, and where especially you see them not being served. But
Yeah.
then you have to be that person that looks at the horizon who says, "Wow, a better world is possible, and we can make it real." And then you have to say, okay, but I can't just focus on the horizon. What I have to focus on is the next step that I'm going to take, and the next step that I'm going to take, and the next step that I'm going to take. And I can be happy with every step because I know that that is a step of progress towards my horizon. And I measure my daily performance based on how well I'm taking these steps. But also, it's always knowing that that out on the horizon, there's this destination that I'm going to, because not only is it going to make my life better, it's going to make the people around me life better. It's going to make the people that I serve through my business or organization or my work better. It's going to make the world a better place. And when you focus on those two things, what's out there that's going to make the better world that you envision, and what I can do in this very moment, because there's no other moment that you can do work. You can only do the work. You can only make progress right now. And when you focus on that, that is how you make these big impacts. That's how you create new categories. That's how you create a brand new experience that changes somebody's life for the better. That gives them, that allows them to experience a better experience of their life, or that rids them of pains and frustrations or whatever.
I like that concept, because we seem to be touching on it, is the combination of awareness and focus. Like not one or the other, but being able to hold both those thoughts in the mind. The awareness of like looking to see what others are doing, but
Yes.
not being overly influenced by it and just kind of playing in saturated environments. 'Cause that's not good.
Yeah. It's not you're doing that. Oh, I better do it too. It's you're doing that. That's nice. I'm doing this. It's not that big of a thing.
So it's like have an awareness, understand the dynamics at play to the greatest ability, but look at how you can create a vision that is different, but not crazy. This is not like we're talking again. This is about where the trend is going, where the market is going, and the best way to serve that market, right? Because I mean, you got something very unique. This can be a big thing as you go through this, and create enough traction on it that will revolutionize, change the whole the way fundraising is done, because they're going to, at a certain point, this continues, they're going to actively look out to seek these direct response marketers who, I love, I'm a fan of direct response marketing because I think it's the best marketing, because it's so quantifiable, and there's so many things you could do to get concrete results, but they're not seeing that as an important element, a pillar to generate that, even though a lot of successful businesses are doing that.
At least not online. I mean, they're brilliant at using using direct mail for direct response. It's just that they haven't translated. They think that because the internet is in a computer, and it is the manifestation of bits and bytes, that suddenly all the rules are different, instead of thinking, oh, so TV is a medium, and radio is a medium, and direct mail is a medium, and print advertising was a medium. And wait a second, the internet is just another medium. It's just another content delivery mechanism. What if all the rules that we've already been using in all these other mediums still applied here? And how might they also be improved through the unique advantages? So like the internet, you cannot create a direct mail campaign based on this morning's news and get it out to your donors if you're talking in the nonprofit space. But you can create an email campaign and get it out based on today's news to your donors. And so if you are in a politically sensitive market, you can have reactionary fundraising based on this morning's news. Or you can't financially, for example, do video marketing very well through direct mail. The economics are just incredibly difficult. But online, you can send out an email, you can run some paid advertising that directs people to a video appeal. And these are things that commercial marketers have been doing forever in internet time, but that are few and far between, that are rare as hen's teeth in the nonprofit space. And it just takes, like, one of the things about having an outside point of view is that it does often come from an outsider. Mark Benioff is actually an exception to this, because I believe that he did actually work in a major CRM company before Salesforce. But I have this unique perspective. Actually, my company, which not a lot of people know my actual corporate name, Fresh Look Inc., because I think that it's easy to confuse with like a design firm. But my entire company name is based on the fact that I pride myself on being able to take a fresh outsider's perspective on things, and through that outsider's perspective, recognize these opportunities. And I looked from an outsider's perspective. I had a specific reason that I'm not going to go into it in this video, but to look into the nonprofit space. And I had this outside perspective based on my experience in direct response. And I said, there's a need for something different here. There's a need for somebody who's willing to step up and do things differently and be seen doing things differently. And some of them are going to fail and some of them are going to be wildly successful. But you have to be willing to be a rebel, to be a change maker, to be a renegade, an innovator, a value creator, a rule breaker, if you want these different results. And it's possible. And you have the entire model of the commercial direct response space to build off of. And that's the power of having these POV conversations. That's the power of understanding what you do that's so different, and how your different perspective can lead them to an even better outcome than they're experiencing right now.
Another thing that popped up is communicating this perspective successfully. The meaning of my favorite saying from direct response marketing is the meaning of the communication is the response you get. So it's communicating. It's not saying like, look, they don't get it, and they'll never get it, and then I got this way of doing things and they're not doing it. It's you're going in there and having this conversation with them, and you're making the barrier of entry or the risk really low, because you talked about. I know we might be going a little bit off topic. We talked about percentage, doing percentage on profits and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
To get them to slowly embrace it and then see some results and stuff like that. But you got all kinds of cool ways of doing of getting them started in it. But that's part of it is helping them see your vision through concrete results, even if it's just a small level of results. Because people are a lot of times going to judge you based on the results you generate, even on a small little part of it. Because I think as you go through this, you'll probably get you're a good communicator to begin with. You'll get some people that will want to try out this on a small scale, and you'll be able to implement, and it'll produce results, and then it's reasonable to scale accordingly. So there's a system to this. This is not like, you're not saying, look, think different and think big, but let's not be pragmatic about it. It's a great combo. I like this. Yeah, absolutely. And so the actual implementation on these things could be, all right, so we know that nonprofits, one of their major priorities, and I've developed more focus on this recently, just because of the conversations I'm having. One of the major priorities in nonprofits is simply being able to, in the context of all the interactions that they have with all their donors, find a way to get their major donors, which are the people that instead of donating the $100 average donation are willing to donate $1,000 or $10,000 or $100,000 in support of the cause, getting those people to raise their hand and have a conversation with a major gifts officer inside the nonprofit. Well, there is a model from commercial direct response that if you're willing to try it, will get those people, will make it clear to those people that, hey, if this is you, this is how you get a hold of us, this is how you have the conversation, and this is how we figure out if we can help you make the financial impact that you want to have on this cause. And it's it's a clear model from the commercial direct response world that works, that all you need to do is change the tactical implementation. Or if you want more of your donors to move into a monthly giving program, there's a clear model from the commercial world on selling subscriptions. How do you get people into subscriptions at scale? Because it's often hard to get that subscription as the first sale. You often have to have something else in front of it. So how do you get somebody to spend their first dollar or donate their first dollar to your organization? And then how do you get them to raise their hand and say, you know what, I'd like to do this on a monthly basis. I'd like to support you on an ongoing basis. And I know that is critically important. But going back to the point of view,
once you get somebody to agree with your point of view, then you can have all these other conversations. And I have an entire list of things. But by having that clear point of view, it's like, if you are in a situation where you are, where you want to speak to a market and you know that there's only a portion of the market out there who's really going to resonate with your message, then having that point of view and stating that up front allows you to get those people to raise their hand, to come to you. It's like in a crowded room, if you know that 10% of the people are willing to engage on a topic that you want to talk about, and you're able to yell out or put up a big sign that says, if you want to talk about this topic, come talk to me. That's what you do with your point of view, and then you can have a deeper conversation. And so with that, I've actually noticed that Joseph, maybe his connection was bad, but he's dropped off here. So I just want to wrap this up. I want to thank you for sticking with me and Joseph and participating in this conversation around your point of view. I do strongly recommend the book Play Bigger by Al Ramadan, Dave Peterson, Christopher Lochhead, and Kevin Maney. And looking into category design and what impact it could have on the impact you're able to make in the world, and the business that you're able to build, or the organization that you're able to build. And I want to thank Joseph. I'm going to include the links to his YouTube channel and so on with this video. Check those out. And if you're not yet a Breakthrough Marketing Secrets subscriber, go to breakthroughmarketingsecrets.com. That's where you sign up for my daily emails, and you'll get these Video Friday issues as well. So with that, I want to say thank you, and I'll see you again next Video Friday.